Welcome back to 360 Sports Network Bowl Prediction Show, where we analyze and predict all 35 bowl games for the 2011-2012 season. We love being criticized, so if you think we're wrong on a prediction here, just let us know. Send us a comment, send us a tweet, send us an email, whatever. Just speak up and be heard, because that's what it's all about. I'm James Dotson, and it's time to break down the Big Five, the BCS games, and we have a great set of BCS matchups this year. So let's get right into it, starting with the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl game, presented by Vizio. It's number 10 Wisconsin versus number 5 Oregon. 2 teams face off in Pasadena in what's sure to be a high-scoring affair. Everything in this matchup says that they're probably going to need to replace some light bulbs in the scoreboard just after the first quarter. Both teams rank in the top 10 in rushing yards per game, the top 5 in points per game. And this game really is all about the size and strength versus speed and pace. Oregon giving the speed and pace, they'll run the spread option attack. Quarterback Darren Thomas and a three-headed monster of running backs, LaMichael James, Kenyon Barber, and DeAnthony Thomas. James is the big playmaker. He averages just short of 150 yards per game on the ground. Barner ran for 900 yards this year and 11 touchdowns, and DeAnthony Thomas is the team's leading receiver out of the backfield, and is a special teams threat as well. Wisconsin's offense, though, they run through senior transfer Russell Wilson, who is about as efficient as they come in the college game. He threw for 31 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions this year, and 2 of them coming at Michigan State. They also have Monty Ball, who had a absolutely great year for the Badgers as well in his Heisman-esque performance. He scored 38 total touchdowns, and if he has 2 touchdowns here in Pasadena, he'll pass Barry Sanders' record from 1998. Even though Sanders doesn't get credit for his bowl touchdowns back in 1988, Monty Ball will get credit for any he scores, so he can easily pass the Oklahoma State back in this bowl game. Wisconsin does have the big power line, and you see this kind of matchup a lot in bowl games when you have a mid-major versus a power conference. You'll see a smaller, quicker team from the mid-major conference playing against a team that just has a huge, strong offensive line, and usually this bigger team wears down their opponent throughout the game and takes control. That this Oregon team is much faster than any mid-major out there, that's for sure. So we can't assume anything about Wisconsin's bruisers dominating the game, but I do think their size will make it more difficult for LaMichael James and company to find any sort of holes on offense, and I think Monty Ball is going to run out wild out there in Pasadena. So I give Wisconsin the edge here by a touchdown, Big Ten over Pac-12 in the granddaddy of them all. Next is the runner-up game, as I'm calling it, featuring top one-loss teams in the country. It's number 3 Oklahoma State, number 4 Stanford in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. The sure number 1 NFL draft pick Andrew Luck will lead his Cardinal against the Cowboys' great tandem of quarterback Brandon Weeden and wideout Justin Blackmon. And this is going to be another high-scoring BCS game, because it features 2 of the top passers in the game. Oklahoma State ranks 3rd in total yards, 2nd in passing yards, and points scored per game. Stanford is also very impressive, ranking 11th in total yards and 7th in points scored, but they have a much more balanced attack on offense, so their offense is going to be much more harder to defend and much more diverse. And the sad thing is, though, everybody only knows Andrew Luck. They don't know names like Stephon Taylor or Coby Fleener, and Luck's all that matters. But let's talk a little bit about defense. This isn't going to be just offense. Stanford actually ranks 6th nationally, number 6 in the country, with 38 sacks this year. So Brandon Weeden might have to be moving in the pocket a lot. And the Cowboys, though, have 2 All-American defensive backs, Broderick Barone and Markel Martin. So Luck might have trouble finding some open receivers, and especially when they don't have any big-name receivers out there. And so I think that's why I'm going to pick Oklahoma State. A lot of people say that they're going to be down after not being picked for the championship game, but I don't buy it. I think they have the big names at all positions. I think that they're going to win probably by 2 touchdowns over the Cardinal. But I'm alone in this pick, so who knows what's going to happen. Next is the All-State Sugar Bowl, featuring 2 at-large teams that probably don't deserve to be in a BCS game. It's number 11 Virginia Tech, and number 13 Michigan in this matchup. Vatech could be undefeated if they hadn't lost to Clemson twice, and they lost both of those in a pretty bad blowout fashion. Michigan hasn't even had a quality win on their schedule except for maybe number 16 Nebraska. I mean, they lost terribly to Michigan State, They never played Wisconsin. So we really don't know what to expect from the Wolverines when they make it to the BCS game. But we do know to expect Denard Robinson to run the show for them. 18 touchdowns in the air, 16 on the ground. Robinson's been a tough man to stop, but he does have 14 interceptions, so he is vulnerable out there. So I think Brady Hoke is going to have his quarterback keep the ball in his own hands, not try to throw it around too much in this game on Tuesday. Virginia Tech's Logan Thomas has 19 passing touchdowns and another 9 on the ground, so he's nothing to forget either. They have a good dual-threat quarterback as well. Both defenses rank near the top of the country. Virginia Tech seemed to do a little bit better against pro-style offenses than against the spread, so they might have a little bit trouble against Michigan. On the other end, Michigan's troubles came when they played pro-style offenses, a la Michigan State, so advantage here goes to the Wolverines. And I think the big difference, though, in this game, when, like it is in all games when you have two closely matched foes, the difference will be special teams. And here's the kicker. Well, pun intended, I guess. Virginia Tech's kicker was suspended indefinitely after being charged with B&E, and the second stringer is now out, so they have a third-string kicker playing for the game, and he's missed both of his field goal attempts this year. So I definitely now have to put the edge to Michigan, and I just hope that the poor kid doesn't have to try to put one between the uprights in crunch time for the Hokies, because it's tough enough as a 3 or 2 year starter, nevertheless a guy who is starting his first game as a third stringer. And let's move on now to the Discover Orange Bowl. We have two spread offenses taking battle here. Big East representative, West Virginia, number 23, will try to defend what remains of a Big East Conference honor as they take on ACC champ Clemson, who is ranked 15th in the country. It'll be Taj Boyd in the Clemson offense, which ranks 29th nationally in total yards, averaging just over 33 points per game, versus Geno Smith and the Mountaineers. They have an offense which is producing just under 35 points a game, ranking 17th nationally in total offense. And these teams are insanely similar, both in performance and in style on paper. This one is difficult because they play such similar styles of high-octane football. All we can guarantee is that there's probably going to be a lot of points on the scoreboard yet again. So I think the edge, though, in this game, when you have something so similar, you got to go with the team that's playing better right now. And right now, that's West Virginia. They've won their last 3 games coming into the bowl game. Clemson has lost 3 out of their last 5. So you got to give advantage to the Mountaineers because Clemson down the stretch, what team is going to show up? We never know. Advantage, Mountaineers, Big East. And finally, the rematch. The second chance game. The second SEC title game. The game that I personally will not be watching on January 9th. It's number 1 LSU, number 2 Alabama. Now, the only reason I can even tolerate this rematch game happening is because even though Alabama lost the first game, they still outplayed LSU, almost without a doubt. It's very tough to argue against that. Trent Richardson stole the show in that first matchup, totaling over 150 yards on offense, but he never reached the end zone, and then again, nobody did for either team. So instead, it was the field goal kicking matchup that stole the show, and one made all their field goals and one missed 3. That's the difference in what turned out to be one of the more boring games of the year. Some game of the century, right? LSU struggled early in their last 2 games they've played here down the stretch. They got down by double digits to both Arkansas and Georgia before their Heisman candidate Tyrann Mathieu sparked fire for the Tigers. He had punt returns for touchdown in both games that helped turn the game around. I think Alabama would be smart to keep the ball as far away from the Honey Badger as they can if they want any chance in winning this game. I think both coaches were very conservative in the first matchup with their offense. Knowing that they had great playmakers on their opposing defenses, I think that's why they try to keep it a little bit safer on offense. I look for both teams to open it up a bit more this time on offense. And in my mind, I'd rather have Jordan Jefferson than A.J. McCarron as the guy I'm going to have running my offense in this sort of game. I think Jefferson just provides more big play potential, and McCarron just kind of manages the game for the Crimson Tide. So I look for Jefferson to take control. I look for the Honey Badger to probably take one the distance, whether it's punt return or on an interception or fumble return. And I think the Tigers win this rematch, and that'll essentially make this a meaningless BCS title game. Oh, and a quick disclaimer, if Alabama was to win this game, don't be surprised to see a split title between the two schools, and I can even see possibly a three-way split between LSU, Alabama, and whoever wins the Stanford-Oklahoma State game. And hopefully all this will spell the end of the BCS. That's it for the Bowl Selection Show on 360 Sports Network. Thank you guys for calling in. We would love to hear your comments, not only on this game, or on these BCS games, but on all the bowl games in general. You can always send us a tweet at 3S Network. Keep track on our website for new information, 360sportsnetwork.com. This is James Dodson saying enjoy all the bowl games.